This is quite the traditional pattern, and every fly fisherman should have a few of these in their fly box in various sizes. Today we're going to be tying on a size 14 Togens curved nymph hook with a 2x gap. I'm going to be using some UTC 70 thread in rusty brown color, as well as some small ultra wire in gold. I'm going to be adding some peacock herl strands for the thorax, and then of course the different sections of pheasant tail. So you'll start your thread about 2/3 the way down the hook shank, and what this does is it gives you a visual stop for when you're tying in your abdomen, and then you go ahead and wrap just a few strands of the pheasant tail, and then I do a wrap underneath the tail just to lift it up and keep those fibers from wrapping around the hook bend. I'll be tying the ultra wire on the back side of this hook shank, and I always do that because then when you do your first counter wrap, it doesn't mess with any of those tail fibers. You'll see what I mean when I wrap this up. Here we're going to be grabbing a few more strands of the pheasant tail, and then what we're going to do is just build up a small taper to this body. You can as well add some lead wire if you want this pattern to get down in a hurry, but what I end up doing with the ultra wire is I'll add some wraps just for a little bit extra weight. And then we'll be wrapping this up starting as flush and flat near the tail end of this body, and then gradually building up that taper. The tricky part is to get all these strands captured and wrapped the right way, so you try to lock it behind and in front of, and then trim away the excess there. I always like to do a whip finish when I'm finished up a section of the bug. Just keeps it from unraveling on you. Then we're going to go ahead and counter wrap this wire rib, and you'll notice that tying on the far side of the hook then makes it stand up a little better and doesn't interfere with those tail fibers. And then you'll notice I'm doing a few extra wraps of this wire. That just adds to a little bit of the weight of this bug. That just helps get it down quicker to the bottom of the riverbed or in the water column of any lakes that you may be fishing. And here we need to carefully measure the length because these fibers are going to end up being the leg section of this fly. So you want them protruding about 1.5 times the gap of the hook. And then here we're going to be adding our 2 strands of peacock herl. And you'll see me tying the thread back to just make sure that that thorax that we're going to be wrapping up is going to be as seamless and tight to the abdomen that you've previously tied. Try to keep these strands together and stacked as best as possible. They got a mind of their own sometimes, but a little encouragement helps them along the way. And then I always like to take my thread and wrap it forward on these strands and then bring them back and wrap them back onto itself. It just helps to secure these fragile peacock herl strands. And then with this is going to build up the wing casing. So we're going to want to separate these little leg fibers on both sides of the hook as evenly as possible. You'll take your thread and you'll wrap them down into position till they're happy. With these fibers on the wing casing up top, you want to make sure that they're perfectly in line, and so a little bit of stroking them with your fingers will get them to settle down nicely. You'll trim away the excess there, and then starting at the hook eye, you wrap them up back towards the actual thorax, trim away the excess, and then I do like to add a little bit of super glue to the head just for durability and keeping that whip finish from unraveling. And there you guys have it. That is the traditional pheasant tail nymph pattern. Give it a tie and we'll see you on the waters.